Hey, what's up guys? TX Griller here. Today I wanted to do a video to show, I saw a couple of you had a couple questions on, if I've experienced GFCI tripping or fuse blowing. So today's video, first off I want to say I have not experienced that. That being said, it happens on a lot of pellet grills. So whether it's Traeger, Pit Boss, you name it. So today's video is just to show you kind of some troubleshooting tips on the Cuisinart Woodcreek if you're experiencing a GFCI tripping. So first thing I want to mention that GFCIs are obviously very sensitive electrical receptacles that can trip due to a number of reasons, whether that's rain, water, electrical wire deteriorating, and they don't last forever. So, but for instance, let's say my smoker here is tripping the GFCI. The first thing I would do is I'd unplug my smoker, reset that GFCI, and I would plug a hairdryer or shop vac into that same GFCI and then turn those on. If those two appliances do not trip the GFCI, then I know I need to go to my smoker and figure out what's going on. If they do trip the GFCI, then I know I need to replace that GFCI receptacle. So now we're going to pretend that it is the smoker that's causing the GFCI to trip. So first thing I recommend is removing these two bottom panels. Obviously we want to have the smoker unplugged. So now that we've removed these two bottom panels, the first thing I want to test is the hot rod, because 95% of the time a tripped GFCI is caused by a hot rod. The hot rod draws nearly 200 watts for the first initial startup. It's like 6 to 8 minutes, and in order to test and see if it's in fact caused by the hot rod, I would recommend first unplugging your smoker, reset the GFCI, removing the back and bottom panels, which we've already done, unplugging the hot rod connectors, which I've already removed the wire tie. Here's our hot rod connectors, purple and white. So this purple, so we're gonna unplug those connectors right there. And after we've unplugged the hot rod connectors, we're going to plug the unit back into the outlet and then turn it to 200. One thing to note is before you turn it on, I'd put a bucket underneath your fire pot, because when you turn it on, your auger motor is going to spin, you're going to have unburnt pellets falling. So after you've unplugged your hot rod and you turn it to 200, if the unit turns on and doesn't trip the GFCI, then you know the hot rod needs to be replaced. So that's step one. If the GFCI still trips after the hot rod has been disconnected, then obviously our next step is to move to the auger motor. So we're going to plug the hot rod back in. We're going to unplug the smoker, reset the GFCI. We're going to plug the hot rod connectors back in right here, and then we're going to unplug the auger motor connectors. The auger motor connectors are the red and white right here. Unplug those. After we've unplugged the auger motor connectors, we're going to plug the grill back into the outlet, turn the knob to 200, and see if the unit turns on and doesn't trip the GFCI, then we know the auger motor needs to be replaced. Now the auger motor is right here, which is very easy to replace. Remove these two screws, pull that panel out so you can access the auger motor. Earlier, the hot rod, I didn't mention, the hot rod's right here. It's held in by a set screw. You undo the set screw and you can slide that hot rod right out. So one thing I want to mention is Cuisinart does a good job. I noticed last week they've got some troubleshooting videos on how to replace these main components on Cuisinart BBQ YouTube. So check that out. They've got in-depth videos on how to replace each main component in here that we're talking about today. So if the GFCI still trips after the auger motor connections have been disconnected, then the final step is to remove the blower fan. So first we're going to unplug the smoker, reset the GFCI, we're going to plug the auger motor wires back in, and we're going to get to the blower fan, which is right here, which is the orange and white, and it's got the two black wires with the orange connector. So we're going to unplug those. Okay. After we've unplugged the blower fan connectors, we're going to plug the grill back into the outlet and turn the knob to 200. If the unit turns on and doesn't trip the GFCI, then we know the blower fan needs to be replaced, which the blower fan is right there. There's 4 screws holding it, and it can easily be replaced. So one thing I've mentioned before in my other videos is you don't have to remove the entire pellet assembly. You can access all these main components by just removing the back and bottom panel, which is great. Which a lot of my other smokers, it takes a lot. You have to empty your pellet hopper, you have to take the entire auger assembly out. So it's just, this is way easier to access your main components. So so those are the 3 quick tests to conduct to check the smoker components to determine which component is at fault for a trip GFCI. We only recommend running the smoker for a couple of minutes during these quick tests. So now the next step, let's say we're blowing a fuse. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this one back in. Let's pretend that we're blowing a fuse, which the fuse is located right here. So we're gonna just pretend that we're blowing a fuse. So most of the time, obviously, a blown fuse is caused by a short in the hot rod, and it's easy to test to see if, in fact, the hot rod's causing the blown fuse. First, you want to unplug your smoker, replace the fuse, and once the fuse is replaced, then I'd recommend removing your back and bottom panels, which we've already done, and then disconnecting the hot rod wiring. So here's your hot rod wiring again, purple and white. We're going to disconnect it, and then we're going to plug our unit back in, turns to 200, and if the unit turns on, doesn't blow a fuse, then we know the hot rod needs to be replaced. So one thing I want to mention is, let's say your hot rod is tripping the GFCI or blowing a fuse, you can still use your smoker. You just have to unplug it and then follow the manual lighting instructions in your owner's manual while you're waiting to get your new hot rod from Cuisinart's customer service team. So you can still use it, you just need to unplug it and follow the manual lighting instructions. So those are just a couple of quick steps on how to determine what's causing a trip GFCI or a blown fuse. You can obviously contact the Cuisinart customer service team. Their phone number on the owner's manual is 866-212-3150. I hope this video helps answer some questions. That being said, my grills worked great, but pellet grills do require maintenance over time. The great thing about the Cuisinart grill is it's obviously, as you can see here, it's very easy to get to everything. So please go ahead and hit the like button. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.